I asked last spring to give this presentation because I wanted to speak to you about our mission, our need for growth in this fellowship, and your role in this growth. So please bear with me. We'll get through to there. First, about the mission. This started, Steve Trisman, whom I admire greatly, and I get together from time to time. Steve calls and says, you know, we ought to talk. And I wonder, what's this about? And we usually go to Coffee-O, either downtown in Falmouth or we get down to Woods Hole. And it happened in Woods Hole, this particular chat last spring. And what he wanted to talk about was the mission. We need a mission, he said. And I really was taken aback. Steve, of all people, said, well, we have a mission. We say it every week. Don't you think that's our mission? He said, well, no. A mission has steps. It has definition. It tells you what we're going to do. That's the mission. I said, well, it does have steps. It does tell us what to do very distinctly. As a matter of fact, the steps are even in our budget. You not only say it every week, you vote for it every year. It's right there. Ministry, music, facilities, fellowship, organization, the administration, the committees that do all the work, the denomination. We belong to something bigger than we are. That's our mission. Oh, he said, in one ear and out the other. That was sort of, a put down. So I thought I would go and speak to Raleigh about, well, what is our mission exactly? And what do you think it is? And she didn't really answer me. Instead, she referred me to two essays by 19th century Unitarian ministers. One was by Emerson, no surprise, and the other by Theodore Parker. So I thought I would have to read up on these things. I went to Emerson first. It happened that Reverend Floyd Taylor, the minister at my church where I grew up, was an Emersonian, which left my mother quoting him. So it sort of came to mind, and I thought he would be a big help to me. So the essay that she recommended for me was called Circles. And the idea here is, Raleigh said, picture a rock thrown into a pond, and it creates ripples. And the ripples go out and out, intersecting with one another, reflecting the sky, changing things, and they lead you from one circle to another. It's like that. That he argued that growth and self-discovery come from endless expansion of thought, where each new understanding reveals another. Potential isn't found in a fixed understanding, Emerson said, but in consistently drawing new circles, particularly of experience, your own personal experience, and thought. Not permanence, but discovery of new growth. So I thought, well, that's good, very deep, but not going in the direction I particularly wanted to go today. So I moved on to Theodore Parker, and it turned out that Theodore Parker had quite a bit to say that really was part of the message I wanted to remind you of, because I know that you already know what it is. The essay she recommended is called On Transience and Permanence in Christianity. You have to remember first that we are part of Christianity. I know that's annoying to some people, but we are part of a very, very long line of Protestants that goes back to Christianity as a whole, that goes back to Judaism, that itself has roots even deeper in history. Ours is a very old religion, but it has been evolving as it went along. And what Parker wanted to say is that across this long span of time, some things are permanent and some things are transient. The things that are transient are things like dogma, miracles, biblical interpretations, other ways to say the same thing and make it seem more complicated. There was another part he said that I want to particularly not miss, but I can't see it right this minute. He was delivering this particular sermon not to his congregation, but to deliver it to a group of ministers, congregational ministers, and the congregational ministers weren't really happy to hear that only morality and ethics were the permanent part of religion, that's what mattered, that's what counted, morality and ethics. Also, Parker wanted to intimate that the message was coming from the man, Jesus, not from some supernatural being. This was really startling. And It created a great division in the church. A strange thing happened. From that became a seminal document in the growth of liberal religion in the United States. And for the Congregationalists who heard it, some agreed and some disagreed. They divided, and here we are. What Parker wanted you to remember also is that service is a spiritual practice. A demonstration. He emphasized service because he knew that that was the example that Jesus had given, that all the time he was preaching and teaching, he was giving an example of service, that's what it was. Both Emerson and Parker spoke in terms of individuals and their religious beliefs, but they knew that it would change the religion, and they were hoping for that. Not just individuals, but a self-reinforcing collective of a church that would preach this particular message. Martin Luther King later named this force for good the beloved community. Now the UUA website names building beloved community as our new 8th principle, and because it's new and I'm at least not that familiar with it, I'd like to read it to you. Beloved community, the UU website says, happens when people of diverse racial, ethnic, educational, class, gender, abilities, sexual orientation, backgrounds, identities come together in an independent relationship of love, mutual respect and care that seeks to realize justice within the community and in the broader world. This is beloved community. Daniel Mark Welch, not long ago, taught us that something becomes sacred because we treat it that way. We act that way. This building is holy ground when we treat it that way, over time, consistently, lovingly. Our message is a holy message when we treat it that way. We believe that love is the spirit of our fellowship, and service is its law. We promise one another because that's what a covenant is. It's a promise of something that we're going to do, think about, and do regularly, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. You can come back to that over and over to find your center and move on as a UU. Simple and easy to remember. So I asked my sister Mary to test it out. You think you're living the mission? And Mary said, well, off and on. You know, it's hard to do consistently. You have to have a life after all. That's true. That's about the best most of us could do. Years ago, I was asked as part of a stewardship campaign. This was probably around, 2008 or 9, to stand up and say why I come to this church. My answer was, I think people are a mixed bag. I think we're good and bad. We all have that potential to go either way. It depends on what's around us, very, very much. We can be hardworking and lazy, well-intentioned and malicious. It helps me, maybe you too, to be called to be my best self on a regular basis. So I come to church where I can find role models, and I do, always. If you look around, you're surrounded right now by role models of people who are living our mission, people who are acting in a loving way, people who are trying to be helpful and create a better world, people who are giving service here within our community and in the larger community. We are all examples to one another that yes, we try and try again, that we try and we don't always succeed, but we come back to it. We're all living ambassadors for our particular faith. And now think, and this is a freighted thought, how many of us will be here in 20 years, in 30 years, carrying our mission forward? I am, I think, among the oldest of us here. That may not be true, but I think that it is. So this issue is very much on my mind. Where will this congregation be as time passes? So I come to my point today about the necessity for the growth of our congregation. Proselytizing has a very bad name. In fact, Jesus spoke against it. He was really against the proselytizing of the Pharisees in the temple, absolutely opposed to it. And it continued to have a bad name because it doesn't work well with people. If you say, come, take my religion because yours isn't very good, that's kind of off-putting. Not a good way to go. So instead, they go for evangelizing, teaching, being an example, that's the way to attract people to the way that you're living your life. And after all, that's what our religion is about, living our lives in a good way. So religions like Islam and Christianity advocate actively seeking new converts through proselytizing. In fact, if you look up any one of them, I happen to look up Catholic, and it begins, "What's your mission?" And it starts out evangelizing and proselytizing. I was amazed. It's right there. Many churches send out missionaries to spread the good news, to teach the gospel and gain converts. In contrast, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism are generally non-missionary. Unitarians, and later Universalists, we've always been against proselytizing, particularly the kind that means you're speaking against someone else's religion. Jews traditionally say we don't do it. You might remember Bob Murphy. He liked to, going in the other direction, he liked to contrast our religion to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They started about the same time in the early 1840s as part of the Great Awakening here in America. And as the Congregational Church is divided, in many places in New England, the Unitarians wound up with the real estate, which is really fortunate. We didn't have to build a building. We could go on doing what we were doing. Some Congregationalists had to build themselves a new building. The Church of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, they were shunned by others, so they had to leave, and they went west to find land and peace where they could build their own buildings and build their religion. So how is it going? They very much believe in missionary work. They are now over 17 million as a faith. We are at 1.6 million. So you have to think, maybe evangelizing begins to look like something. Yes, we might investigate. How can we reach out without making invidious comparisons? How can we attract effectively? Again, to me, our message speaks directly, particularly now, with all that's going on. There's a great need for morality, ethics, and every single one of our 8 principles. They need to be emphasized. They need to be brought out into the world. We don't threaten hell or promise heaven. We don't ask for belief in supernatural beings or happenings. Believe it if you will, but this world is awesome enough. Enough of a miracle. Enough of a great unknown. Nor do we have a secret apart from other religions. All religions teach morals and love and service, so we're not unique, but we are unique in our focus very strongly on that. Small as we are, our nation is very much in need of our service. The enormity of our problems dwarf our ability to rectify the wrongs or even make a dent in one of the separate issues. So we seek interfaith allies. We share our building with others doing good. We don't give in to defeat by not even trying. We say it's our law to serve, to do something in this world to make the world better. The only sugar on the pill is we offer company while you do it. Belonging to a community, not without dissension, but with essential unity on the need to recognize wrong, to do right, to give your service to the communities that you find yourself in. I'm proud to belong to this congregation. I'm proud every time I go down to the green and see all the familiar faces, go to all the activities here in town and see that you're there. We are very much seen and a part of this community, and I thank you for that. That's really what we need to be doing. I'm glad to be one of you. I invite you to reflect on your own path to this church, to assume that what attracted you will attract others, that what you found here keeps you here, and to share your own story, as often as you're comfortable doing it with as many people as you encounter, and that's how we'll grow.